Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now let's get to our interview for tonight. I am joined by the Head of Information and Public Affairs of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Comrade Benson Uba, for discussion on subsidy removal and why NLC opted to protest. Thank you so much for joining us, Comrade.
Hello.
So let's kick off this way. Organized labor, which you are a principal officer, carried out threat of embarking on nationwide protest over subsidy removal. What really motivated you to take such action in the midst of reconciliatory efforts?
Thank you very much, Comrade Jumoke. I suppose I can address you as a comrade. The issues that motivated us to do what we did have been very much in the public space. We are taken aback by the decision of Mr. President to end subsidy regime, while statutorily it was supposed to run to the end of June. That was not good enough. It was an offense because Mr. President does not have the right to vary the Appropriation Act without first referring that to the National Assembly. And moreover, he had more than a month to go, a period he would have used to make strategic consultations with stakeholders. He didn't do that. So he yanked it off and everything went haywire. NNPC raised the PMS pump price from 100 and something naira to 537. Energy sector, electricity sector, threatening to raise their tariff by 40%, and manufacturers cried murder. Manufacturers said this was going to lead to paralysis in the productive sector, job losses, flight of investors to neighboring countries from Nigeria, closures and all of that. Life that was already tough became hellish. Prices of everything went up, transportation costs. In fact, the country started folding up. You know, when goods, services, and human beings are unable to move, any society will begin to shut down, and Nigeria was no exception. So we said these issues were serious, and we raised, and we say we are going to, and we sounded a notice of strike action. But of course, government invited us and said we could hold a conversation. And we listened to government, went in for conversation. While we were there in the villa, government acted in bad faith, served a notice from court restraining us. In fact, what they did was a substituted service. You do substituted service with leave of court. Government didn't do that. There was no reason for government to come in a Gestapo manner with 3 truckloads of police men and then to paste the notice on our wall. That was not proper. Government acted in bad faith. Nonetheless, we signed a document with government on the 5th of June a 7-item document which I have here, and I want to be able to speak to that document directly here. We said TVC and NLC to establish a joint committee to review the proposal for any wage increase or award and establish a framework and timeline for implementation. Government TVC and NLC to review the World Bank Finance cash transfer scheme and propose inclusion of low-income earners in the program. TVC and NLC to revive the CNG conversion program earlier agreed with labor centers since 2021 and work out detailed implementation and timing. Government to review issues hindering effective delivery in the education sector and propose solutions for implementation. The labor centers and government to review and establish the framework for completion of the rehabilitation of the nation's refineries. Government to also maintain roads and expansion of railway networks, as well as take on board the demands, additional demands made by TUC. On the basis of these resolutions, we decided to call off the strike action. And of course, there was also a restraining order. We're a law-abiding organization. A combination of these two made us. Then, about 3 weeks later, there was another wave of increase. This time, from 537 to 600 and something. Neither government nor NNPC accepted a responsibility for this wave of increment. They said it was market forces. We say, well, market forces. We will protest against market forces. Meanwhile, even before this new wave of increment, government did little or nothing to put life to the commitments it had voluntarily made with us. Because these items I read out to you, our government had said within 8 weeks, we'll be able to sort them out. And in order to implement them, it has set up a steering committee, a national steering committee, and sub-committees. But government was perpetually acting in default. We were not happy with that. A number of times, we went for meetings, they were not there, and nothing was done. So when this new wave was announced, from the dazed positions that Nigerians were, they were completely immobilized. Nigerians emotionally moved from a stage of shell shock to immobility, anguish. And pressures were on us. So we say we're going to protest this. And let me state clearly here that this new entity had nothing to do with the previous increment. So we decided to go on protest, and we went on protest in collaboration with other bodies, associations, organizations that felt...
All right, comrade. Before the day of that protest, members of the National Assembly urged you to hold on while they meet with government and labor leaders. Why did the unions ignore that appeal?
Well, let me say that the National Assembly, on the eve of the protest, made their intention known. I mean, where were they all this while? They didn't do anything, and that could be understood because for their subsidy, it didn't take more than 10 minutes. The gavel came down that 70 billion had been approved for them as subsidy, and for the judiciary, 30 billion was approved. 35 billion was approved for them. But for you and I, Olajumoke, our subsidy went into voicemail. I'm sure you must have read this play, Waiting for Godot. So we kept waiting, conversations, endless conversations. And I must be honest, I will not conduct myself like Ayo Fayose, who came here yesterday and was defaming NLC, its leadership, who was conducting himself in a way and manner unbecoming of a governor. I want to use the opportunity to respond because he made very uncomplimentary remarks, defamatory statements.
Of this, Comrade Benson, in the course of this interview, I would kindly urge you to please stay away from name calling and let's focus on the main issue and how to get, some resolution. But then I asked you a question. I asked you why the unions.
You do that yesterday, Jumoke. I didn't hear you do that yesterday. He kept on. In fact, he said we collect money from that probably because Mr. President is not giving us money. Settlement. I didn't hear you say one word. So why would you want to say that? That there be no name calling here? Why? What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Don't go that way.
Comrade, I did actually, and to reiterate what I said, I would like you to allow us focus on this particular issue. Now, on that day of the protest, some of your members pulled down the gate of the National Assembly during the protest. How will you react to this?
You will have to prove that our members pulled down the gate. In the first place, why would that gate be shut against us? Whoever authorized the shutting of the gate of the National Assembly should be tried. The National Assembly is a public space. In fact, in the design and concept of the assembly, there is a wide space for citizens to come and protest. And we have always gone there to protest. In fact, the day before, there was an organization that protested in support of the government. They opened the gate for them. And then we, as if it came from Mars, they say we will not enter. No, that was not going to work. Okay? We had conducted ourselves peacefully, orderly from the Unity Fountain and all the way. And both the police and the DSS personnel that accompany us could attest to that. And then some overzealous personnel decided to shut the gate against us. The gate had to give way. It gave way on its own. Okay?
Okay. All right then. But then, some Nigerians have described your demands as unrealistic, especially reversal of subsidy removal. How well do you think you can go ahead with these and other demands?
Who says that our demands are unrealistic? Jumoke, do you need a degree in suffering to know how badly hit Nigerians are at this moment? Nigerians have never had it this bad. Let me tell you, The pump price of PMS went up from 100 to 500, and now we're doing 600. And without, to the best of my knowledge, an increment in the wages and salaries of workers, or any support for the people in the informal sector or for our farmers, what we have now is a state of paralysis. A situation whereby neither goods nor services nor people can move. It's a serious one. And this will be the first time ever that a government will be removing subsidy at this level, at this scope, without preparation. If I take you down a memory lane, IB did it. He made sure there were transport schemes across the states, cooperatives to organizations and to individuals. NLC was a beneficiary of the IBB transportation scheme, then known as Labor Transport Services. General Abacha did it. There was PTF. All the way. Chief Obasanjo did it. He did his intervention. Yaradua did it, his own intervention. But this one, there was no preparation. And it was evident. And there would have been no mention of anything had organized labor not protested. Now, below the Hobbesian level, at the Hobbesian level, it was short, mean, and brutish. Now life operates on audio level, just audio. So, we are all paralyzed. We've been impoverished. We've been buffeted from left, right, front, back, top, bottom. A situation whereby the subsidy removal was accompanied by the devaluation of the naira from 400 and something naira to now it is, initially it was 750, now it's 8 something. I have a paper here that says 1,000. If you want, I can flash it and show it to you. So, all this, a combination of this, created a number of problems. Hardship. There is more insecurity, more hunger, more poverty, more anger, more unemployment, more youth unemployment. Public universities. I know of one that has raised its school fees by 400%, even as our government keeps insisting that universities should not raise fees. But universities say they cannot cope without these fees or whatever. So, how do we survive? Okay? So these challenges are real. And let me tell you something. For those who keep saying subsidy is an issue, there is need to distill subsidy as an obligation of the state from the criminal content of subsidy. What NLC has been saying is deal with the criminal content of the subsidy. And happily, Mr. President, in his address, did admit that, yes, that there's a cabal, a very powerful one, but he did not deal with it. Instead, he chose to deal with us, the poor, and that will not be right. Now,
so, comrade, one of your demands is the new minimum wage, which the president has promised it will come. So why not give the president time on this?
What did you say, what?
One of your demands is the new minimum wage, which the president has promised it will come. So I'm asking, why not give the president time on this?
Hey, it didn't take time for the government people to have their subsidy. Why will it take government a whole year to do minimum wage? Do you know one thing? Minimum wage is not even the issue. It goes beyond a minimum wage because a minimum wage is for minimum wage people. What about medium wage, maximum wage people? Are they not Nigerians? Have they not been affected by this? Inflation crept from 16.9 to 22, now to 30. Exchange rate has moved from 400 naira to nearly 1,000. And the capacity of the generality of Nigerians, both in the formal organized private sector and in the informal sector, their capacity has not been enhanced. And sometimes it is convenient for people to say, oh, fuel subsidy, fuel is cheap. I want to tell you that the minimum wage in Nigeria, 30,000, is only paid in principle in most cases. Minimum wage in US is 1.2 million. That is a federal one. And that of federal is the lowest, actually. Okay? Many entities in the US pay much higher, better than the federal. The states and other organizations pay much better, but it's 1.2 million. But I want to tell you at the moment that we pay much higher than people in US in terms of PMS. The pump price of PMS in Nigeria at the moment is much higher than the pump price of PMS in US. I want to tell you.
And now that the president has rolled out some relief packages to cushion effects of the subsidy removal, why is Labour not satisfied with this and government's efforts?
Jumoke, let me just make this point. The US subsidizes PMS by $10 billion at the moment. Germany, UK, and other countries are on the second tier of subsidy. What I mean by second tier is that owing to the challenges brought upon by the conflict in Ukraine, they had to go beyond the level that they were subsidizing this energy consumption and so on and so forth. So for us here, we say in Nigeria, we in organized labor said, deal with the criminal content, deal with over-invoicing, deal with under the deliveries, deal with crude oil swaps, deal with crude oil theft, which KPMG estimated to be $23 billion this year. Deal with this. And what will be left for the government to do will be so light. Because even statutorily, constitutionally, a government has an obligation to make the citizens happy. And that is also enshrined in our constitution. Not to bring bitterness, not to bring this level of pain. And Mr. President was gracious enough to say, yes, I feel your pain, I know what you're going through. And he said, well, but this pain is necessary for you to feel well. Which I must say, Jumoke, is what we have heard over the years. Each government will come and tell you, this iron I'm drilling into you now is for your good.
The federal government continues to say petrol subsidy benefits few people and some neighboring countries. Are you insisting that this should be sustained?
Jumoke, you don't need to consult our ancestors or to consult the stars to know that that kind of a statement is intended to insult our intellect. It's just like a panelist I had the opportunity of exchanging ideas with on a platform, and he said that only 4% the public transportation, people who go by public transport in Nigeria are only about 4%. And we just looked at him and said, no, where did you get your statistics from? So, but in order not to, to take you back to a past conversation I had as a panelist, in order not to, to take a lot of time with that, Jumoke, don't buy such gibberish. Don't. I want to tell you, okay? In this country, both the poor and the rich move. Their products, their services, they move. In fact, we do not have organized public transport system here as obtains in the West, in Western countries. So we are the mercy. Everybody moves. Okay? You either your private car, or you are in somebody else's bus, or you are in somebody else's car. So those that benefit, or those that have been benefiting from subsidy, extra benefit, are the crooks. Those ones I told you over invoice, they under-deliver, they overestimate the national capacity for consumption, the crude oil deals and all of that. They are the ones that create the excess luggage.
All right.
Okay? But if not, at the ordinary level, we all benefit. The poor, the medium level people, the upper crust people, everybody gains something. Okay? So it was not to the...
Tonight I've been speaking with the Head of Information and Public Affairs of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Benson Upah, for discussion on subsidy removal and why NLC opted to protest.